Real quick, before we get into the show, I wanted to share a new service called Getita that Ken and I have been using that has made us over $10,000 in Amazon reimbursements. The service requires no monthly subscription, and Getita collects a small percentage of the money they recover for you. It takes less than 5 minutes to set up and works on all Amazon marketplaces. Go to Getita.com, Getida, and enter promo code FTM400. That's FTM for Firing the Man 400 to get your first $400 in reimbursements commission free. How much money does Amazon owe you?
The first thing is your product. Your product has to be good. If you don't have a good product that is differentiated in some way, it doesn't matter. It's not going to convert. Don't get so obsessed with the revenue number, the top line. Just get obsessed with the bottom line. That's what really matters in this business. If you're a small seller, you got to realize whatever phase of business you're in is what TACOS you should be targeting. If you're in a phase of business of growth and you're just focusing on growth, then you need to be pushing a higher TACOS.
Welcome everyone to the Firing the Man podcast, a show for anyone who wants to be their own boss. If you sit in a cubicle every day and know you are capable of more, then join us. This show will help you build a business and grow your passive income streams in just a few short hours per day. And now your hosts, serial entrepreneurs David Schomer and Ken Wilson.
Welcome, everyone, to the Firing the Man podcast. On today's episode, we are joined by Dr. Travis Zigler. Dr. Zigler is a recovering optometrist turned e-commerce entrepreneur. He is the founder of iLove, whose mission is to heal 1 million dry eye sufferers naturally. Dr. Travis and his wife, Dr. Jenna Zigler, use the profits from iLove to fund free clinics in Jamaica and the U.S. through their charity, the iLove's Care Foundation. Due to the success of iLove, others have asked Dr. Travis to help them grow their businesses online, more specifically on Amazon, which led to the creation of Profitable Pineapple Ad Agency, specializing in Amazon PPC. Dr. Travis blogs about Amazon PPC and selling on Amazon, and also has a free Amazon PPC masterclass, which we'll post links to in the show notes. But I met Travis at Prosper this past year. We had an excellent discussion, and I knew he'd be an excellent candidate for the podcast. So welcome, Travis. Very excited to have you.
And David, thanks for having me on. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. So let's hear a little bit about your story and that transition from medicine into e-commerce.
I think everybody has the kind of entrepreneur story and the foundation where we grew up selling. I actually sold on eBay. That was my first entrepreneur kind of e-commerce venture. And this is when you had to get the paper checks from eBay. Not from eBay, but from the seller. And then you have to wait for it to clear and then you'd send the item out. And that was kind of my first venture into entrepreneurship, but I didn't really know what an entrepreneur was. And I went through college, went through optometry school, graduated in 2010 and started working for my uncle right out of optometry school he's an optometrist as well. And he practices in Columbus, Ohio, where I went to school as well. And I felt this itch every single year I worked for him. It just got stronger. And I didn't know what it was. It just was driving me crazy. I wasn't happy with what I was doing. It was a great job. I loved what I was doing, being an optometrist, but there was just something missing and I didn't know what it was. And so my wife did the 3 things you're not supposed to do, especially at the same time. We quit our jobs. We moved across the country and we started 2 practices of our own. And when I was leaving my practice with my uncle, he told me, you're going to be just fine. You're very entrepreneurial minded. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. What's an entrepreneur? And we were doing it. We went across the country, started 2 practices on our own. Well, I went from a very established practice that's been around for almost 100 years. I think it's 80 years old now, to a brand new practice. So I went from seeing 6 patients an hour to seeing 1 patient an hour. And that leads to a lot of boredom. And when you have an entrepreneur that's bored, you tend to need to do something with your hands. And so a course came across my desk called Amazing Selling Machine. It actually came across my inbox. And I ended up purchasing that. And the funny thing is, if the plan of what we had planned on doing would have panned out, we wouldn't have purchased that course. But we were bored practicing because we were only seeing 1 patient an hour. So we bought Amazing Selling Machine the same year we started our 2 practices. And what we noticed was that we did about 80,000 in the first year, but then the second year we did about 1.2 million. And our practices went from about 300,000 in the first year to about 500,000 the second year. So growth versus growth, hockey stick versus like this gradual linear growth. And that's why we decided in 2017 and 18, we sold one practice in 2017, one practice in 2018, and decided to go full time into this e-commerce space. And that's pretty much the story of how I went from practicing medicine to now doing e-commerce full time. And the funny thing is my wife and I were talking the other day, and she is one short year away from being in e-commerce full time versus she'll be in e-commerce more full time than she was practicing optometry. So I'm still a couple of years out.
Man, that's a really interesting story. And to get to the MD level, you guys are in school until you're almost 30, right? When did
I'm an OD, so not
OD,
as
okay.
much schooling. I'm more of those fake doctors. We only do 4 years after undergrad.
Okay, but still a tremendous amount of schooling to essentially walk away and pursue e-commerce. And so I have to ask, when you bought that Amazing Selling Machine course, did you have an idea for your first product, or did that develop as you were going through the course?
So we went through the course training on product selection, and we picked a bunch of baby products. And I think everybody did at that time. It was 2015. And so everybody did supplements and baby products when they first started out with. And that was when it was a Wild West. But we realized we knew nothing about babies because we didn't have one at the time. Do now. We have 2, but we didn't have any idea. And we're like, we don't know anything about this. Let's just do what we know. And so we ended up going a little bit against the course, and we just decided to come out with sunglasses. And so we were a sunglass company first, and then we morphed into more of an eye care / dry eye company over time, which I'm sure we'll get into that if we want to dig into that story a little bit more. But yeah, we followed the course, didn't really mesh with us. So we just decided to do what we knew, which was eye care.
Nice. So Travis, we're really excited to have you on the show today and kind of dig into PPC, and really interesting story and kind of background and like where you were in your career, you know, and you felt something else that was compelling you to do something different. And then on top of that, you had, you know, like you looked at the numbers, and numbers normally don't lie. David always tells me that. He's a recovering CPA. And so you saw like, hey, hockey stick growth and here's growth. And yes, makes more sense. And so kind of pivoted into that, which is, I really respect that. It takes a lot of courage and, you know, and pivot into something like that. And to also kind of pull what you know and what you're passionate about all in the same bucket is really cool. It's super inspiring. So kind of as we're in 2022, so you've been in this e-commerce space for going on 7 or 8 years now. And so, you know, everybody probably listening to this show is like, the only thing that you can expect is constant change. And so in 2022, can you share with the audience, you know, how has PPC changed? What's working now? And kind of, what do you think?
How has PPC not changed in the last year? That's the real question. Yeah. And especially with Amazon has just changed drastically. And what we're seeing mostly as the change is you've heard the sexy term day parting, and that's been going around a lot in the last year or so. Day parting is something that's relatively new, and we're recording this in July of 2022, and Amazon finally announced it just last week. And so this is something that is just coming out. Some companies claim they had access to it early, which I do believe them because they're some of the biggest in the advertising space. But day parting is going to become something big. And what day parting is just simply finding out what time your product sells and converts best, and parting the day in Amazon PPC where you only show your ads during that time, that specific conversion window, and then you turn it off the rest of the time. And so that's something that's big that was just announced on Amazon PPC, and Amazon just announced that. It's called Marketing Stream. Just look up Marketing Stream and then you'll get to see more about it. So that's been like the biggest news probably in the last month or so. But overall trends that we've seen is, of course, costs. Everybody's seen that costs go up, and it's getting harder to remain profitable with both logistical costs, getting products from overseas. That's been a huge cost increase. Plus, cost per click has risen as well. And so those combinations have really squeezed smaller sellers, and even the bigger ones. You've seen Thrasio have some layoffs, and some of the other aggregators in the space have some layoffs as well. And it's because of those rising costs. Another big thing that we're seeing with PPC is that last year, I just looked at this like 2 days ago, and I was looking at all of our clients' data combined on a dashboard, and 70% of sales were organic, 30% were from advertising, and now it's 50-50. And so you can just see a lot more advertising sales picking up, and you're seeing that in the Amazon search when you're doing Amazon search, because it used to be 1 sponsored, then it went to 2, and now it's up to 4. And you used to see 4 sponsored at the top of search, plus you have the banner, plus you have all this other stuff going on, and then you have the video halfway down the page. And so sponsored is now taking up more real estate on Amazon, and you're starting to see more advertising sales as a result. And so that ratio is starting to get kind of skewed in the direction that us sellers do not want it to happen to. But those are the biggest ones, is you have to pay to play, and the day parting one. And then of course, increasing costs are going to be the biggest strategies. And that's kind of what we're seeing in this space. And so you have to be a little more creative with your advertising, go deeper with that keyword research, and then explore other options like Google ads to Amazon, Facebook ads to Amazon. And then we'll get more into that probably later in the podcast. And then Amazon DSP as well. So demand side platform.
Okay. Yeah, those are really good. And the day parting, I had not heard of that. I heard that they released a video creator inside the ad portal, that they're slowly rolling that out. But the day parting is going to be huge. Hopefully we get that rolled out pretty soon. But that sounds like it's going to drive more efficiency, once you can implement that. Now, you kind of alluded to something as you're seeing, with having insight into lots of accounts, with the agency, and one metric that we look at in our business is TACOS. And so over the last, 12 or 18 months, it's been harder and harder. Like you're saying, the ratio of ad sales versus organic sales is increasing because the real estate, Amazon, I think their ad division is making a ton of money, and that's easy money for them, and it's easy to turn that up higher, right? And so what are some ways to move the needle with that TACOS, keeping the organic, sales even with advertising, or just in that, we talked about profitability. What are some levers that you can pull there to increase profitability?
So for the listeners, TACOS is just your total advertising cost of your sales. So your total sales in regards to how much you're spending. And when you're looking at TACOS, it's an interesting number. It's a great number to follow. And you got to realize whatever phase of business you're in is what TACOS you should be targeting. If you're in a phase of business of growth and you're just focusing on growth, then you need to be pushing a higher TACOS, which means more advertising sales, which means more sales overall. To give you an example, we were in hyper growth mode for 6 months last year. From June until January, we went into hyper growth mode, meaning that we were trying to acquire as many new customers, and it didn't matter the cost. Now, this came as a result of us selling our company, and we sold it to a larger company who had some cash to be able to put behind this. And so not everybody can do this, but what our goal was to break even pretty much every month, if not lose a little bit of money. So our TACOS rose quite a bit. We were up to 40% TACOS, which I know a lot of you guys just had a heart attack. It's okay. It's okay. You can play with this. And the reason we did that is because we knew what we were going after, new client acquisition. We were able to go from about 400,000 a month all the way up to 500,000 a month in a relatively short period of time, just by increasing that TACOS and increasing our ACOS targets. So increasing the ACOS targets means you're getting more aggressive with your PPC. You're paying more for clicks. You're going to show up higher on the page. It's going to cost a lot more, but you're going to get a lot more customers as long as your product converts. Don't try to do this on a product that's just not working. Don't try to do this on another plastic widget from China that has no differentiation from everything else on the market. Do this if you're trying to build a brand and you're trying to build a customer list and you're trying to build we did this because we sell consumables. And so we could push that a little bit more. So now we're at a point now that we want to start focusing on profitability again. So we've taken that TACOS target and we've reduced it all the way down to 21%. So we've pretty much cut it in half. Sales have decreased as a result. Advertising sales have decreased as a result. Our organic sales are actually picking up a little bit, not much, but a little bit more as a result of that. And so, but the reason we did that is because we knew what the revenue number we wanted to hit. We knew what TACOS number, we knew the revenue number we wanted to hit. We knew the advertising that we wanted to spend per month. And by doing that, you can figure out the TACOS that you need to have. And so knowing your TACOS number is incredibly important if you're on a budget, which I've never learned about budgets until now because we sold to another company and now we have to do budgets. But TACOS is incredibly important just to be able to monitor things as far as like how aggressive you want to be if you're in new client acquisition, break even, or if you're going more for profit. I don't know if that answered your question, but I think I beat around it a little bit.
Sorry to interrupt the episode. You may have heard Ken and I talking recently about a new tool that we're using for Amazon refunds. Now, I have used other refund tools like this. However, I can tell you in the first 7 days, they scrubbed the back end of my Amazon account going back 18 months and found $5,000 of refunds. And the nice thing about this is it's my money. Amazon made a mistake and they are just auditing my account. The other thing I really like about this tool is there is no monthly fee. They only charge a commission if they are successful in getting you your money. Go to getida.com, Getida, and enter promo code FTM for Firing the Man, FTM400. This is an awesome tool. Can't say enough good things about it. Now, back to the episode. I really like that answer. And one thing I want to dig in on is you had talked about the transition, right? From your high TACOS to your low TACOS, and you saw organic pickup. And we have also experienced that, where in what that leads me to think is that there's some cannibalization, right? You're getting organic, as you cut, you're getting organic sales where you otherwise would have made a PPC sale. And so what we're trying to do in our businesses is find that sweet spot to where do we not have cannibalization, but, so we have high organic sales, but also are we leaving profitable sales on the table? And so as you were going from that 40 to 20, what led you to stop at 20? Like, how did you make that decision?
That was a complete corporate decision. That was this is the revenue that you need to hit. This is your advertising budget. Show us how you will do that. And you just kind of work backwards from there. And you have your advertising budget. You have the revenue you need to hit. So you just figure out the TACOS from there. Pretty simple calculation for that one. So it was just the budget divided by the total revenue that they needed to hit. And so we knew we needed to hit that TACOS in order to hit that budget, in order to not get fired. Yeah. So most small sellers like myself, even before we got acquired, didn't think that way. And now that I'm in a corporate environment, I do have to kind of think that way a little bit more. I still have a little bit of freedom, but if you know exactly the numbers that you can relax in, I call it relaxing in the numbers, like you were just talking about that sweet spot. The key thing is don't get so obsessed with the revenue number, the top line. Just get obsessed with the bottom line. That's what really matters in this business. If you're a small seller, when you go to sell your company, the bottom line is what's going to matter. The companies that are going to buy you are going to look at your EBITDA. And so, yes, you may have a higher TACOS and a higher revenue, but your profit's lower. So it's not really worth that much. And so finding that sweet spot for you, because it's different for every single person out there, every single product, every single brand, and learning how to relax in that profit number, that's the number that you need to be chasing, not the revenue number. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one follow-on question to this is you had mentioned that corporate had given you a budget. And we were actually just talking about this in a meeting this morning. How do we control this budget? Well, you can do it in one of two ways. You could set campaign level budgets, which it's kind of a bummer when you are midway through the day and you're out of budget on like a really profitable campaign, right? We don't want to do that. The other way would be controlling through your bids. And so I'm curious, when they gave you that mandate, did you achieve that through campaign level budgets or through your bids or a combination of both?
So we did an overall account budget and we set our account budget to the X and we're like, okay, how do we hit that per day? And what we did is we did a drastic shift in the TACOS from that 40 to around 27% first. We let it run for a month. And what we noticed is we were hitting the budget every single day. And so we were running out of budget. And so when we started adjusting it down even further, controlling the bids, so adjusting that TACOS down even further and controlling the bids a little bit more, then we started noticing we got within the budget and we weren't spending the budget and running out in the middle of the day. And that was the sweet spot for us because we were not running out of budget. We were just at the budget pretty much. So let's say the budget was 2,200. We were hitting like 2,100 per day. And occasionally we'd go over, occasionally we'd go under, but we'd stay around that 2,200 number. But the good thing is we were hitting the revenue number and the profit number as a result. And that was the key part. And so it's a combination of setting your budget where it needs to be from an overall account level. That's what we did, overall account level, and then adjusting the ACOS targets or the TACOS targets to adjust your bids to be within that budget to make it so it's profitable, but you don't want to lose so much sales velocity that it affects your top line. Now, that was a very confusing statement. I hope everybody followed that, but essentially it's playing with both budget and bids to figure out what bid can still make the sales within the budget.
Yeah, it makes sense. And definitely, Travis, you said something earlier, is kind of like every business is different. And so as you know, the audience is listening to this, if you're like, oh, TACOS 41, every business is different. And I think every business should have a different TACOS, different ACOS, whatever is a good fit for what you're trying to accomplish. If you're trying to gain market share, obviously your TACOS is going to be higher. If you're, prepping for an exit, obviously you want profitability and your TACOS should be lower. So this excellent deep dive there. Another question here, and this is something I think you mentioned earlier, is conversion rate. And so with PPC, I think conversion rate is oftentimes underrepresented, or, it's like something that's overlooked. That can you explain a little bit like what conversion rate is and how to, where to find it, how to improve it?
Yeah. So conversion rate is probably one of the most important metrics on Amazon, because Amazon loves conversion rate, a high conversion rate. And if you have a low conversion rate, Amazon's not going to show your product. So a conversion rate is just simply how many people have landed on your page and how many people have purchased. So 100 people have been on your page, 20 purchase, you have a 20% conversion rate. Pretty simple. And so with conversion rate, you got to understand, get in the brain of Amazon. Think like, if I was Amazon, what would I rather do? Would I rather show you this berberine supplement that converts at 20% or this one that converts at 50%? And so thinking of the Amazon algorithm, what are they most likely going to show? They're going to show the one with 50% because it's more likely to convert into a buyer. Amazon wants sales, period. That's it. They want sales. The more sales they can make, the more money they make, the more money you'll make. So the higher you can make your conversion rate, the better your listing is going to be organically, but then it's also going to come in from a PPC standpoint. Now, if we go over to something like, these kind of go hand in hand, but let's go over to Google Ads for a second. This will apply to the conversion rate here. Just stay with me. Google Ads has something called a quality score. I don't think Amazon's ever announced that they have a quality score, but it's there. It's got to be there. Google Ads has a quality score. The higher your click-through rate, which is impressions, how many times your ad's been seen and how many times it's clicked. So 100 people have seen your ad, 20 people click on it, 20% click-through rate. The higher that click-through rate, the more often Google is going to show your ads. And the higher the click-through rate, the cheaper, the lower cost your Google ads are going to be, because Google wants people that are going to click on the ad because that's how they make money. Same thing goes with Amazon and their conversion rate. The more Amazon sells, the more your product, the higher the conversion rate, the more it sells, the more Amazon makes money. And so that's two different scenarios with two different metrics that are kind of the same, because Google is selling clicks, Amazon's selling physical products. It's the same metric though for both of them, because they want you to click more or they want you to buy more. And so conversion rate is such a key indicator, and you can just find this simply in your business reports. And so go to business, I think it's like detail page by child SKU or child ASIN, and you can actually see your conversion rate. And depending on what category you're in will depend on what conversion rate is good. I sell sunglasses. Conversion rate, a good conversion rate for sunglasses is 7%. Good conversion rate for my eyelid wipes, 50%, 40 to 50%. And so it just depends on the product. I think the eyelid wipes are a little skewed because the subscribe and save's in there. And so every time a new subscription, that's pretty much, I think it counts as a conversion, but not a session, just because it's, they don't actually go there. It just gets fulfilled. But still 40 to 50% is a great conversion. Amazon's going to show that all day long because it converts well. And if you go to Amazon right now and type in eyelid wipes, you'll see both of my products as number 1 and number 2 sponsored. We're not organically ranked well because we're fighting pharmaceutical companies that have, they've been selling for 20 years. And so they just have more history than us, but our conversion rate's so high that we're very high in the PPC algorithm. And so we show up as number 1 and number 2 quite often.
To continue this conversation on conversion rate, say corporate calls tomorrow and says, all right, Travis, your goal is to double conversion rate over the next 3 months. So you get the team together and you map out a game plan. What are going to be the high priority items? If someone's looking to increase conversion rate, what are the high priority items in some ways that you would accomplish that?
I hope they don't ask me to double the 40% one, but if I could get it to 80%, that'd be fantastic. The first thing is your product. Your product has to be good. If you don't have a good product that is differentiated in some way, it doesn't matter. It's not going to convert, plain and simple, because that leads to better reviews. And reviews is probably the biggest thing. Social proof is huge in the society of e-commerce, and especially now post-pandemic or pandemic, I don't even know what we are anymore. But it's because when somebody's shopping online, they can't touch, they can't feel it. And so reviews is so big, and they want to see if somebody down in the reviews had the same problem that you're trying to fix, and they want to see if somebody else is going through the same thing. And so when they can kind of have that kind of transfers of feelings from a review that they're reading because that person went through what they're going through right now, then that's going to help so much. And then you got to have good photos. I mean, that's just plain and simple. Good photos, good bullets, A+ content. That's kind of basic Amazon listing optimization 101. And have some videos on how to use the product, and have some video testimonials if you can on there. Encourage your buyers to leave video testimonials and make sure it looks professional. Think like, what I like to do is look at a listing, look at my listings, and some of my listings need a little work, so don't go judge me yet because I have to go through the corporate process, which takes a long time to get any changes done. But look at your listing and say, would Nike allow this, or would Starbucks allow this? Would a big company allow their listing to look like this? And if the answer is no, then you need to change a lot. And it all goes back to social proof, reviews, good quality product, photos, videos, good bullet points, have professional photos done too. So increase that conversion rate by just doing those simple things.
Awesome. Yeah. That's great. A pretty good list to follow. So, and I agree, conversion rate is huge. It actually, I think, can make or break PPC depending on your conversion rate. Another question that I have is, we just kind of came off of a Prime Day, or I guess what we called it this year was Prime Days. And so the strategy for large events, Prime Day, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, what are you seeing really moving the needle in terms of revenue creation, in terms of profit with PPC strategy?
Yep. So I'm going to go back to the last question a little bit to answer this question. One more thing that you can do to really increase conversion rates is a very large coupon. And so if you need to increase conversion rate really quickly and do a lot of sales velocity, put a 50% off coupon. This is not a coupon code, but a coupon. This means they clip it on the listing. They can only use it towards a quantity of one, which is better than a promo code, which can be multiplied, and you don't want to deal with that. That's going to increase your conversion rate as well. So for Prime Days, this is something that we just did this last time, and we do it for Black Fridays, for Cyber Mondays, for Christmas, whenever your season is, Father's Day, Memorial Day. So before Prime Day, what's happening is people know Prime Day is coming because Amazon doesn't stop advertising. They're all over everything about Prime Day. But people go to Amazon to start shopping, but they don't buy. And so what we do the 5 days before Prime Day is we make them want to buy. We actually put massive coupons on our best sellers the 5 days leading up to Prime Day. So anywhere from 30 to 50% off, because if they're shopping during that 5 days, they're usually just clicking on your ads and costing you a lot of money, but they're not converting. But what if you switched it and put a big coupon on it before Prime Day to these people that are just window shopping? It's going to convince them to buy at that time. So everybody else's conversion rates are sinking while yours are rising as a result of these big coupons. So we didn't change anything with our PPC strategy leading up to Prime Day. We kept it as aggressive as ever when everybody else goes down, and we put a big coupon on it. What that actually did is it led to a 30% increase in sales throughout those days. Profit might have been about the same or maybe even lower, but we're increasing conversion rate for 5 days leading up to Prime. We're not touching our Amazon PPC. And then when Prime Day hits, we switch it to a smaller coupon. And so we switch it to a Prime exclusive discount of 20% versus the 30 to 50%. And we've increased our organic ranking as a result of that, because everybody else is retracting while you're still going all in. And so then during Prime Day, we do a 20% off Prime exclusive deal. We didn't do any lightning deals this year. And then for PPC, what we did is we just did increase in the top of search placement, anywhere from 50 to 100%, and then increase the budget. That's all we had to do. We didn't change bids. We didn't do anything else. We just increased top of search budget or top of search bid placement, and then increased our budgets. And that's all we did. And that seemed to work really well. We did, over double the volume that we usually do. We are not an Amazon Prime Day brand. We're not selling, we do sell sunglasses, but we don't focus on those anymore. We sell mostly dry eye products. So like face wash, eyelid cleansers, eyelid wipes, and people aren't really looking for those on Prime Day, but they will look for deals on if they already use that product. So we do a big sale beforehand, less sale the day of. And so that kind of increases conversion rates going into it.
That's an interesting strategy. So building up and then decreasing. I like that. Now, have you had a chance to analyze the profitability on that to see like if the amount coupon versus the the volume came through? Is it profitable or is it?
Yeah, we were still profitable there.
Yep. Okay. So, like a halo effect, like you're basically essentially looking for that halo effect on Prime Day. And so.
Yep. 100%. So we saw usually an increase in organic ranking anywhere from, 2 to 5 spots. Most of our products are already on page 1. And so we're battling, like I said, pharmaceutical companies. So long history of sales there. But, if we can gain 1 or 2 spots during Prime Day, that can be huge. And so that's mainly what we're trying to do. And we did see some traction on that of gaining like 2 to 3 spots on some of our main keywords, which is big for us. And then the profit was there. And so that was the big key is profitability still going to be there even when we're doing the 50% off? And it was. And so that was the good thing.
Nice. That's pretty cool. I have a mental note of that strategy. So
I have a video on YouTube about it, actually.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, I really like that. We'll have to give that one a try and definitely at least split test and see the results. It makes sense in my mind how that would work. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to today's Firing the Man podcast. If you like this episode, head on over to firingtheman.com and check out our resource library for exclusive Firing the Man discounts on popular e-commerce subscription services. That is firingtheman.com/resource. You can also find a comprehensive library of over 50 books that Ken and I have read in the last few years that have made a meaningful impact on our business. For that, head on over to www.firingtheman.com/library. Lastly, check us out on social media at Firing the Man and on YouTube at Firing the Man for exclusive content. This is David Schomer.
And Ken Wilson.
We're out. Before you go, we wanted to share a new service that Ken and I have been using called Getita that has made us over $10,000 in Amazon reimbursements. The service requires no monthly subscription, and Getita collects a small percentage of the money they recover for you. It takes less than 5 minutes to set up and works on all Amazon marketplaces. Go to Getita.com, Getida.com, and enter promo code FTM400. That's FTM for Firing the Man 400 to get your first $400 in reimbursements commission free. How much money does Amazon owe you?